Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Strikebreaker. That's the guy you can, because it's night, rather unclearly see on the screen at the moment, but I hope we'll see sunlight relatively soon. As always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first half of the video, and in the second half of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations, equipment and everything else. So what this character is going to be about is we are playing as an unarmed character with a focus on using vats, which is something I wanted to take another look at after initially taking a look at a power armor slugger character using vats. And yeah, for those of you who didn't know, I'm pretty sure everyone knows, but yeah, Bethesda added the ability for vats enhancing legendary effects to drop on melee weapons. A lot of them didn't work beforehand. We're talking about vats crits doing more damage and less vats cost, especially on this occasion. And yeah, we're using an unarmed weapon called the Moleminer-Gauntlet with the anti-armor effect, as well as I said, the better vats crits and less vats cost. Pretty good combination here. Oftentimes, especially when I'm using rifles and so on, I do prefer stuff like faster vats crits, so I can get, even with high health, to a amount of luck that provides me with a crit on every second hit. Or when it comes to rifles as well, maybe instead of vats crits, vats hit chance could be nice. But on this occasion, yeah, for a melee weapon, I think better vats crits and less vats cost do work pretty well. I wanted to take a look at it and I'm relatively surprised, especially the better vats crits do work rather well. I'm pretty sure I would still prefer faster swing speed, just for a bit more damage output overall. But given we are using a relatively fast weapon to begin with, we can definitely live without the extra swing speed. On something like a slugger weapon, I would definitely prefer swing speed, but on this occasion, yeah, we're doing rather fine. I wanted to take a look at this build again because, yeah, vats and melee or unarmed on this occasion, even nowadays with the addition of these legendary effects, that playstyle still is kind of riddled with a few problems. Now, the first one is, yeah, in my opinion, if you're not playing as a maybe a low health stealth unarmed character, you do usually want to be way more tanky than this character is. We're playing as a little bit of a glass cannon with only 3 endurance, and the only perk we do have is fireproof. So as you can see at the moment, we do take quite a bit of damage, and in fact we already went down here. Was a bit overwhelmed. Could have avoided it. I just should have taken a stim pack in addition to one that we were getting automatically. But yeah, Yao Guai can be quite devastating when it comes to melee builds, just because they're staggering so hard. You can usually kind of tone down that problem by using a pneumatic modification for your chest piece, but since our backup on this occasion for ranged combat and tougher targets is explosive weapons, I went for padded as a modification for the chest piece. Obviously dense would be even better, but I didn't really have access to that on this character and didn't want to bother to transfer my chest piece to another character just to modify it. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem here, but yeah, for this character I guess we were a bit unlucky because Yao Guai can be probably among the most dangerous enemies you can encounter. Back to the problems with vats and unarmed or melee. The returns you're getting for crits are, well, they're not as crazy good as they are on ranged weapons, for the simple reason that critical damage basically uses your base damage of the weapon as a starting base to work from. So you're adding, I think it's 1 times the base damage of the weapon, and you do also get a little bit of extra armor penetration as well, as I'm aware. And yeah, extra armor penetration is pretty much lost simply because, yeah, you do have a very good anti-armor perk for unarmed and melee weapons called Incisor, And on top of that, we are actually even using a unarmed and anti-armor weapon. So extra armor penetration from crits doesn't really offer us a whole lot. And the main problem here is base damage. Like, when Bethesda changed the damage model from doing additive damage instead of multiplicative damage, melee and unarmed was hit particularly hard for the simple reason that their damage, their base damage, is not like when you're talking about ranged weapons where you just equip the standard receiver, unequip all the damage perks, and that's your base damage. On unarmed and melee weapons, it's even a bit worse, because what you have to do is you have to look at a character that has only one strength. Because yeah, even the bonuses from strength, just paying attention so we don't fall into the fissure here, even the benefits from strength are additive nowadays. So yeah, the base weapon damage of a melee weapon or unarmed weapon on this occasion is the weapon damage the weapon would deal with a character with only one strength. No mutations like talents or twisted muscles, no modification on the weapon, and no damage per card. So if you actually have access to a character like that and can try it out, you'll be surprised how weak unarmed weapons and melee weapons are actually. We're talking about something like 45 damage or so on a Deathclaw Gauntlet, and that's basically what's added from a crit. We can, however, boost our crit damage with quite a few little tricks here. And one big thing I never really do during my videos is you can definitely increase your damage output a lot with consumables. That's basically a cornerstone of running a melee build. Really, if you want to do a lot of damage, you should consider meat or alcohol that boosts your strength, your melee damage. There's quite a few buffs you can use, and also there are quite some good buffs that increase your crit damage. As I said, I don't really bother with that during my videos for the simple reason that I want to give you a look at basically the vanilla build, so you can see it at its weakest. And I personally am not a big fan of always running with consumables, but I know a lot of people do. There are very good guides out there on which would be a good choice. And yeah, this here is probably, we should have started off with our explosive weapons. Was a bit of a mistake on my behalf. I hope we don't really pay for it, but yeah, we did on this occasion. As I said, this was a little bit of a stupid mistake here. We should have just started off with maybe a sneak attack from our grenade launcher. That would have been better, taking out the Assaultron beforehand. Anyways, I was just talking too much. It's always a bit hard for me to concentrate and do good decisions during this video, so yeah. Now this is where the weapon pretty much shines. Mob busting, killing a lot of ghouls, and it also still works relatively fine when it comes to super mutants and the like, but yeah, robots, basically the problem here on this character is, as I said, we're not too tanky. We are relatively flimsy. I mean, we do have a good armor set, all Vanguard's marine armor, so we do have relatively high defense stats. I think we're somewhere in the realms of 450 damage and energy resistance, but it's not going to be enough to let us tank for longer periods. It's sufficient enough for small skirmishes to survive them, and basically surviving an encounter is everything we have to do, because afterwards the healing factor mutation will heal off all the damage we took. But yeah, in order to do that we have to survive the encounter, which was the problem on this occasion. Okay, here it is, the Assaultron Dominator, and that's what we have our grenade launcher for. Once that enemy is out of the equation, we can then focus on the more menial tasks again. Talking about Mr. Gutsy's, I think up there is one. Okay, that one was the one I was searching for. Another relatively big problem I have encountered with vats and melee is something that was very briefly seen just a few seconds ago. Not sure if it really went through when you're looking at it on a video, but Bethesda has claimed that they fixed the problem and it definitely improved, but it's still there that you oftentimes can't really attack an enemy in vats with melee or unarmed weapons just because something is in the way. And something is in the way is a very, yeah, very vague term on this occasion, because oftentimes it feels like you should be able to easily hit an enemy when in reality you just don't. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem. As I said, definitely got better, but it's still not 100% fixed in my opinion. Now, one thing you can see here is if we're starting off a fight with a VATS crit, we can oftentimes one-shot even these super mutants here, and if we're getting lucky and getting an explosion, which happens rather regularly, the damage increase from that is pretty substantial. Like, it really adds a lot to us. And also, in addition, yeah, it's area of effect damage, so nearby enemies do get hit. We do have the Grenadier perk, so the range is a bit higher. Sorry for the silence here, but I was in a bit of a peculiar situation. Is that a word? I hope so. I was a bit overwhelmed, that's what I wanted to say. Now, one thing to keep in mind is AP management definitely is a big factor here. You really have to be a little bit cautious. If you're not getting lucky with Grim Reaper Sprint every now and then, you can definitely run out of AP. And other than with a Stealth Rifleman build, for example, where this isn't a big problem because you just fall back a little bit and wait for a few seconds to replenish your AP. If it happens to us, we are in the middle of a fight, and yeah, we just have to tank damage in the meanwhile, meaning spamming stimpaks and so on. Now, one big downside when it comes to melee and VATS that I haven't really mentioned so far is yeah, the weapons just... When it comes to ranged weapons, using VATS and using crits is a straight up performance boost, just because, yeah, you have nothing comparable to it compared to unarmed or melee. Like, you have two big benefits when you're using VATS when it comes to rifles. First and foremost, you will have an easier time to target weak spots. I mean, at least most people will. If you're really good at shooting, you will probably be able to hit thrusters from Mr. Handies or heads from enemies with free aim as well. But for me at least, VATS always helped me a lot getting headshots, and therefore just doubling my damage output basically, which was always a great boost. And in addition to that, yeah, you have the VATS crits, which can give you a lot of damage boost. But when it comes to melee, this isn't really the case, because you can't target specific limbs, which is a really considerable downside. That's just basically a double damage boost you're not getting compared to ranged attacks, and that's really noticeable. And in addition to that, one thing to consider is that unarmed weapons and melee weapons do have power attacks outside of VATS, which are already pretty significant damage boosts. And really thinking about it, using VATS, you have to invest a whole lot of points and a whole lot of special points, perks and everything in order to make VATS really a viable option. And once you're doing all of that, you're ending up doing pretty similar damage than you would do with a power attack. The difference is power attacks just need a bit more action points, and that's it. That's all of the investment you have to take. You can boost it a little bit with legendary effects, but at that point you're basically maxed out your damage. And yeah, you don't have to bother with stuff like luck perks, you don't have to bother with managing your AP as much. You can just fall back to using absolutely standard attacks. So that's the main reason I think vats, melee or unarmed, never really took off. Nowadays you do get a few benefits just from the fact that you have access to the legendary perks. Hack and Slash is very potent compared to Explosive Palm and Collateral Damage, meaning you can get a lot of explosions from it, but that's basically the only real benefit from vats compared to power attacks. So that's a little bit of a problem, and overall I still think Bethesda should revisit the whole idea of vats and melee. Because yeah, as it stands, there's just not a good reason. I mean, even on non-vats characters, I often use vats in on melee characters just when I'm jumping and want to target an enemy and teleport to it, but for that, you don't really have to invest in it. You can just do that. And fully investing into a vats melee character is just something I would only recommend you to do if you want to do it for the sake of it, if that makes sense. If you're looking for a real gameplay advantage, you may see a little bit of a better return when it comes to mob killing, killing groups of ghouls, just because, yeah, Grenadier in combination with Explosive Palm and Hack and Slash is really good nowadays, but that's basically it. Anyways, I did have a lot of fun with this character. As I said, you're a little bit flimsy, but overall, yeah, you can definitely have a lot of fun with it. It feels way more different to a normal unarmed character than I had expected, which is nice. And yeah, having that little bit of flavor using explosive weapons every now and then is also nice to have. So just that those characters don't interrupt us when we're looking at our perks and everything. We're going to take them out here real quick. As you can see there, the grenade launcher is a very effective weapon, even with relatively little investment into it. So yeah, if you're having tough times, just fall back on that one. And now we're going to take a look at this here Mutant Hound, killing it, and hopefully really cool. I love red storms. Really, in my opinion, they should happen way more often in this game. They transform the atmosphere so brilliantly, and yeah, I want 24/7 red storms, please. Okay, anyways, this was the gameplay part of the video, and now we're going to take a look at the more interesting stuff. I actually completely forgot to use these even once dynamite bundles, which I thought worked rather well with the whole aesthetic and the minor theme that we're going for. Anyways, finally we're going to take a look at the mutations here. The unnecessary one out of the bat is Chameleon here. You can see invisible in combat if unarmored and stationary. We're not using stealth really. We are armored and we're pretty much never stationary, so this is a leftover from another build but has virtually no downside to us, so therefore I didn't really bother removing it. More important though on this occasion, Bird Bones and Eagle Eyes, which usually I would always avoid when it comes to a melee character or unarmed character, just because they give debuffs to strength, meaning debuffs to your damage overall. But the extra agility is worth it in my opinion from Bird Bones, just because we can get a few more action points and therefore more hits in VATS, which is very nice. And keep in mind, we do reduce the debuff to strength to 1 each with Class Freak, so yeah, it's really not that bad. And 4 extra agility is nice to have. Extra perception is absolutely useless to us, but extra crit damage is also nice. Isn't the craziest damage boost, but comparing it to -1 strength, I think the benefits outweigh the negatives on this occasion. But you could see, I tried the build both with Eagle Eyes and without it, and I found that with Eagle Eyes I felt a bit more powerful, but it's really hard to tell, honestly. Then we do have Grounded. We don't use any energy guns, so therefore the debuff is absolutely irrelevant to us, and 100 extra energy resistance is nice to have, making us a little bit more tanky. After all, as I said, we do have very little in terms of defensive perks and very little in terms of endurance, so therefore increasing our resistances really is a cornerstone of this build. Then we do have Healing Factor, meaning camps are less effective, which is a bit of a downside, to be honest, especially for the stim packs, but 13% isn't the world, and having health regen was worth it to me. outside of vats, outside of a combat situation, but that's neither here nor there. If you want to have it, use it. If you want to make more use out of chems and stim packs, don't bother with it. That's personal preference, honestly. Then we do have Marsupial and Speed Demon. Those two mutations are pretty much always beneficial in my opinion. Extra jump height and movement speed are just very good. -1 to intelligence. Sure, we're leveling a bit slower, but meh. And extra carry weight is also nice. And lastly, yeah, hunger and thirst growing faster. Growing faster. Anyway, you know what I mean. Not that big of a debuff as well, in my opinion. Then we do have Scaly Skin, yet again, more resistances. Isn't the world here, but the debuff isn't either. 12 AP isn't too crazy. Sure, it would be nice to have no debuff to our action points, but yeah, -12 is okay for having a bit more resistances, in my opinion. Then we do have Talons and Twisted Muscles. Those are pretty much the most important mutations here. 25% more unarmed damage and bleed damage, very beneficial. The extra damage is always nice, and the bleed damage stacks very nicely with the modification on our weapon, which also gives us bleed damage. So the bleed damage is nothing to cough at. If you're hitting an enemy even once, talking about level 60 or level 75 ghouls, oftentimes even if they have like a quarter of their health left, bleeding damage can take care of that. It stacks up pretty nicely on this occasion. Would obviously be really good if you have the Thorn armor. Could stack even more of that, but we don't have that on this occasion. It's still pretty good though. And then we do have Twisted Muscles, yet again 25% extra damage. It says melee damage but counts towards unarmed as well. And the chance to cripple is also very nice here. Gun accuracy going down hurts our grenade launcher a little bit, but since we're only targeting torsos anyways, we do have a very good hit chance with it, so I wouldn't really worry about that. Chance to cripple is nice, especially if fighting something like a sheep squatch, for example. One thing I did is I just ran up to it, hit it in the legs a few times trying to cripple it, which worked pretty well, and before dying just retreat a little bit, the enemies immobilized, and then take him down with the grenade launcher. Worked perfectly well on most occasions. Then we have our anti-armor, VATS crit, less VATS cost, Moleminer-Gauntlet here. As I said in the beginning, I'm pretty sure I would prefer swing speed, but for the sake of the video I was quite happy with this weapon here, because yeah, I really wanted to see how far we can push our critical damage. And yeah, taking everything into account, mutations and the necessary perks and legendary effects, yeah, we can do some pretty good damage with this. Less VATS cost, very beneficial. I think there's nothing that would be more beneficial on this occasion. Strength, sure, would give us a little bit of a damage boost, but yeah, the weapon uses quite a lot of action points when used in VATS, so less VATS action point cost was a good decision here. We have the extra blade modification for extra damage and bleed damage, so just straight up beneficial here. Only modification, by the way, and that's it. Then here it is. Well, as I said, I didn't really use it in the video. I just failed to think about it. Dynamite bundle, actually pretty nice. What I like about it is you don't need springs, so it's rather easy to craft compared to other grenades in my opinion. And yeah, pretty significant damage. It does benefit from the anti-armor effect on our unarmed weapon if we have it equipped while throwing it, which is rather nice. The dynamite bundle has increased explosion range in and of itself. Combine that with Grenadier, yeah, you have really high range. You can really take down a lot of enemies at once if you're using it right. So overall I found it really cool, and as I said, it fit the build rather well. And here it is, our 2-shot VATS hit chance. Grenade launcher, obviously not a lot you could improve here. Faster reload would be very nice, but for what we are using it, this works perfectly. 2-shot is the best effect for launcher type weapons. I am currently working, or well, it would be said too much probably, but yeah, I'm thinking about an explosive build that for once doesn't use the 2-shot effect, so maybe we'll see that in the near future, but yeah. two-shot is the most beneficial weapon modification effect here, and vats hit chance is also nice. As I said, just a sidearm for us basically. And then we take a look at our armor, full set of marine armor, one with endurance, one star. This one here has increased lockpicking size and radiation resistance, so nothing too crazy here. And here it gets interesting. We have one and a second piece with increased AP refresh, which is very beneficial here. I would ultimately try to go for more than 2 pieces, just so we can be more effective, stay in vats more of the time. In terms of the visuals, we do have the chemist backpack with the keep out backpack skin, elite ranger armor. Found that it fitted rather well with the Garrahan Foreman helmet, but obviously the Garrahan Foreman outfit would work perfectly as well. And in terms of under armor, yeah, we have shielded Secret Service under armor, best for unarmed or melee characters in my opinion. 4 extra strength, 2 perception, which is rather unnecessary here, but another 4 endurance as well. So yeah, more tankiness, more damage, pretty welcome here. Let's taking a look at our perks. We do have obviously 15 strength, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. In terms of damage, we do have Iron Fist, Incisor, and Martial Artist, so nothing too crazy when it comes to unarmed. Better armor penetration, better swing speed, and better damage overall. Pretty straightforward. And the perks we had left here we used for blocker, increasing our tankiness against melee enemies quite significantly. And then we do have Barbarian giving us extra damage resistance due to strength. So you will see here that we do have 480 damage and 450 energy resistance, which is quite a bit above the diminishing returns, which are somewhere around 350 each, but a lot of this comes from Vanguards. And what these perks like Barbarian give us is, yeah, we can stay over the diminishing returns for longer if we're losing health. Then we do have Perception, Fire in the Hole, and Grenadier. Grenadier does affect our explosive palm explosions and our hack and slash explosions, so very beneficial here. Pretty sure it doesn't work for our grenade launcher, sadly. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work for the auto grenade launcher, and therefore I assume it doesn't work for the M79 grenade launcher as well. But it does affect our grenade launch. I'm saying grenade launcher too often. For our dynamite bundles, which is very nice. As I said, gives us a huge explosion here, and Fire in the Hole just gives us the throwing arc. Now you could improve here, but to be honest, further throwing distance doesn't seem too beneficial to me because there's just not a lot of situations where I would use that. Then we do have Endurance at rank 3 with Fireproof at rank 3, already talked about it. In an ideal world I would have liked to have way higher Endurance, but due to the fact that we have to invest so much into luck, agility and strength, there's just not a lot of points left, to be honest. Then we do have Charisma, also at rank 3 with Tenderizer, which is one of the best all-arounder perks in the game in terms of damage in my opinion. 10% multiplicative damage on consecutive hits. Nothing to cough at, it's pretty good. So therefore, yeah, I went with it. And then we do have 5 Intelligence, Demo Expert. It does obviously boost our dynamite bundles. It does obviously boost our grenade launcher. And in addition to that, I'm pretty sure it also improves the damage output of the explosions that we get from legendary perks. So yeah, we really try to center our damage output around those legendary perks if you haven't noticed yet. Then we do have Agility at 15. Pretty simple, I wanted to have it maxed out just for the fact that we can get more action points and stay in vats for longer. And there's quite a lot of beneficial perks here for us. So first and foremost, we do have Adrenaline, which should be an easy pick for everyone, just extra damage if you have the points for it. Then we do have White Knight. Quite simple, we're always in danger, always being shot at, and we rely heavily on our armor to keep us alive. So White Knight is a good pick in my opinion. Then we do have Gunfu at rank 3. Arguably rank 3 is a bit overkill because really we do get so far as to get the full 30% damage bonus from it. But if we do, it's very satisfying, and yeah, the only thing you could switch in my opinion would be to go for rank 1 of Gunfu and rank 3 of Born Survivor, just to make survival a bit more safe. But speaking about it, we have Born Survivor at rank 1, meaning at 20% health we automatically use a stim pack. Yeah, not a lot to say about it. It's a fail-safe a little bit. Now, it doesn't mean we're unkillable in this situation, because since we are so flimsy, if we get down to 20% health and an enemy actively shoots at us, he probably out-damages the healing we're getting from our stim pack. But yeah, if it just happens due to an exploding car nearby or some stray bullets that hitting us while we are on the move, it definitely is beneficial. And lastly, we do have Marathoner, which I find quite beneficial on this occasion, for the simple reason that if we are running up to a character, to an enemy, which we often have to do, we want to have action points left when we're at the enemy. So yeah, Marathoner was quite a good pick here, especially since we're not having a lot of endurance, meaning that would reduce the amount of action points we need for sprinting. So yeah, I was torn between using Action Boy and Marathoner here, but since we have two powered pieces of armor, I went with Marathoner rather than Action Boy. If you don't have access to powered pieces on your armor yet, I would probably go for Action Boy and try to move a bit more cautiously. Think about your movement a little bit more. That would be my recommendation there. Then we do have luck at 15 also. I wanted to really increase it as high as possible so we can get a critical hit on every third hit. We do have rank 3 of Grim Reaper Sprint. Pretty simple. We want to have the ability to gain action points, fully regain our action points after a kill in vats every now and then, which we can do with Grim Reaper Sprint. Then we do have better criticals, just to further improve on our critical damage, obviously. Class Freak, which is really important on this occasion, just because, yeah, we have so many contradictory perks. Eagle Eyes and Bird Bones, which would reduce our strength by 4 each, which would be massive debuff. And Talons, which would then make reduce our agility by 4. Which, yeah, the whole reason we did use Bird Bones is to have more action points. So yeah, Class Freak, very good on this occasion in my opinion. Starch Gene's pretty obvious pick here. Yeah, we don't want to get any new mutations, and we don't want to lose those that we do have. So yeah, Starch Genes is a must-have. And lastly, Critical Savvy, for what I said in the beginning of talking about luck. Yeah, getting a hit on a critical hit on every third hit. Quite the good perk here. I think there's nothing else that would give us quite this amount of critical hits. Four Leaf Clover and Psychopath wouldn't just wouldn't hold up to Critical Savvy. Pretty simple as that. And all of that leaves us with 1 rank left, and that went into Psychopath. To be honest, there's no real do or die pick here. It's just 1 perk. It won't make a hell of a difference, but 5% chance to refill your critical meter on a kill. It happens every now and then. You could go for 4 Leaf Clover, which would possibly be a better option, but yeah, it won't make or break the character, let's put it that way. And that leaves us with legendary perks, the boring ones right out of the way. We do have legendary Endurance, Luck and Strength, just to boost our perk points, or special points, sorry. Luck and Strength both go beyond 15. I would obviously like to have both of them maxed out. It goes for every single legendary perk, but yeah. So they boost the passive benefits from him. We don't get any more perks from those. So yeah, luck just gives us even more crit chances, and strength even more damage with unarmed weapons. And endurance is the only one we use to actively use more perks, or rather to have the ability to use fireproof at rank 3. And then to the more interesting ones, we do have Hack and Slash, Collateral Damage, and Exploding Palm. Exploding Palm, 10% chance to trigger an explosion on unarmed hits. 10% because it's rank 2. I think it goes up to, what is it, 15 and 20 at max rank, or 25, I'm not quite sure. So yeah, definitely beneficial, works outside of vats as well, but we rarely see that. Then we do have Collateral Damage, 13% chance to get an explosion on a kill with a melee or unarmed weapon, and Hack and Slash, which is probably the most beneficial one here, a 30%, so a 1/3 roughly, chance to do an area of attack damage when using an unarmed weapon in vats. So as you can imagine, these all combined make it so we do a lot of explosions, and obviously if they're all maxed out it would be crazy. Priority for me would be Hack and Slash on this occasion, then Exploding Palm and Collateral Damage being the last one. But yeah, that was it. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Hope you liked what you see. Maybe this spared you the hassle to retry a vats melee build yourself. I mean, obviously, as always, but on this occasion probably even a bit more, a low health build could completely transform the way you see this character. Like on a low health build, this could be very good, just because you have more benefits in every single direction. It's not only extra damage from extra strength, it's also way less trouble with action points, just because you have so many to use. You get way more crits. You can really easily get 33 luck and just do a crit on every second hit. So yeah, overall, this is one of the builds that would most benefit from being a low health build. I mean, you would probably need to factor in stealth to stay alive, but shouldn't be a problem with that high agility. But anyways, I did have a lot of fun with this build. Overall, I still gotta say though that vats melee for me feels like it doesn't really have its place, just because there's nothing that the vats gameplay offers for an unarmed character that you wouldn't be able to compete with outside of vats, if that makes sense. So yeah, anyways, hope you enjoyed it and see you next time, guys. Bye.